Boker Tov, good morning. It's wonderful to see everybody coming together in the morning. Yes, here we are on another beautiful day, coming up to the middle of the month of Elul. What an incredible thing in this amazing year. This year where we are challenged and yet overcome, where here we are together, finding a way through it, even when we can't be together in other ways that we really wish we could be. But it is an honor and a pleasure to be with you here on this beautiful Monday morning. As we say, Boker Tov, as we greet one another with these words that wish for a day of goodness, and we hope for a day that is in fact Tov Ma'od, the words that the book of Genesis applies to our basic humanity. That it says today, let's really dig into that spirit within us, that ability for each of us to say, wow, I am created in the divine image, and therefore I can offer love, and I deserve respect and care, that I can offer respect, and that I deserve the kind of love and support that humans need in order to realize, each of us, who we are and what we can be today. So it's wonderful to be here with you this morning as we begin in that spirit. And so we're going to begin, as we do each morning, today with Asher Yatzel, with this beautiful prayer that offers a sense of gratitude for our chance to wake up this day, not any day, this day, and greet the new one. So please join with me today in the English. Blessed eternal God, creator of the universe, you have fashioned our bodies with wisdom, creating within us a finely balanced network. To stand before you in prayer is itself a fragile miracle. Eternal God, we praise you as the healer of body and spirit. Let's join together in the prayer for the soul as well, also today in the simple English translation. The soul that you have given me, O God, is a pure one. You have created and formed it, breathed it into me. And within me you sustain it. So long as my soul is within me, I will give thanks to you, eternal my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. We praise you, eternal God, in whose hand is the power of all life and the spirit of all flesh. And together in Hebrew, or though if you wish, you can certainly enjoy the English or the commentary as we say the prayer for Torah study, the prayer that acknowledges that every day Torah is a mirror that we can hold up to ourselves, that we can use this millennial conversation created by our ancestors in partnership with God and use it to help us grow into the kind of partnership that will improve this world. Join with me in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Va'arev na Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha b'finu, v'fi amcha bet Yisrael, v'niyeh anachnu v'tze'etzaenu, v'tze'etzei amcha bet Yisrael, כולנו יודעי שמך ולומדי תורתך לשמה, ברוך אתה אדוני המלמד תורה לעמו ישראל. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור. These are the obligations whose value has no shi'ul. It has no measure. Therefore, no amount of it is too small, and one is never finished doing these mitzvot. No amount is adequate. These are the obligations whose value cannot be measured. They nourish us in this world and help us to create the world to come. Kibud avayim, to honor fathers and mothers. Ugmilut chasadim, to perform acts of love and kindness. Bashkamat bet midrash shacharit v'yalvit, to attend the house of study morning and evening. Bachnasat ochim, to welcome the stranger. Uvikur cholim, to visit the sick. Achnasat kala, to provide for brides and grooms. Ulvayad hamet, to keep faith with the dead. Biyun tefillah, to pray with sincerity. Ahavat shalom ben adam lechavero, to make peace when there is strife. The Talmud Torah keneged kulam. And the study of Torah is equal to them all. The study of Torah is equal, not as a replacement for them, because all of these are without shiur, without measure, but because the study of Torah grounds us in them. It helps us understand the power of them, and it nourishes the mind, so that as we each day nourish the body, as each day we find within us a sense of spirit, it's very important that we live a rich life of the mind. And of course, Shema challenges us to do that. As with the large letters in the word Shema and Echad, it challenges us to be edim, to be witnesses, to look at our world not from a perspective of what can this world give me, not even consistently from the perspective, although it's important, of what can I give to the world, but to start with being an ed, to saying, what must I see? To what can I bear witness with my words, with my deeds, in my own mind and heart, so that I can say, wow, this world is a blessing, it's a gift, and peace and growth are always possible. I'm going to try to seek out those feelings for myself as we turn to the words of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Bechol levavecha, ubechol nafshecha, ubechol meodecha. Ve'ayu advarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'vetecha, u'belechtecha v'derech, u'b'shochbecha u'b'kumecha. U'b'shaltam le'od al yadecha, v'ayu letotafot ben enecha, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם. ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו. וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. It's worth pausing before removing these words from before us, because just like the words of Shema challenge us with our selves, with our souls, with our eyes, to be edim, to be witnesses, these words, as I circle them here on the screen, also remind us, lo taturu, don't go astray, acharei levavchem, after your heart, v'acharei einechem, after your eyes. That you tend to be misled to follow after them. How is it possible that at once we can use our eyes to see what there is that we need to see in the world and avoid at the same time having our eyes lead us astray? It is challenging, it's a lot of work. It's why I'm grateful that we keep coming back to the words and work of Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Satanov in his book, Spiritual Accounting, who I think in this week, the two of his 13 personality characteristics that we might work on. I think these, in fact, give us some of the ingredients to do just that, to know when we're leading ourselves down an important path and when we are in danger of going astray. These are the first and the fourth of his 13 characteristics. And please feel free to read them with me before we turn to our parasha, our Torah portion for the week. Equilibrium. Rise above small events, whether good or bad, that are not worth throwing off your spiritual equilibrium. Determination. Determination in all matters begin by calmly and coolly thinking things through. Once you have decided, get up and do it, and don't delay. It's an interesting combination, isn't it? To avoid just running off in some direction. It helps us not to allow specific events that we cannot control and that are in fact small, not to allow them to throw us off. And at the same time, once we think things through, we can't become frozen in analysis or consideration. That we have to be aware that we don't have all the answers, and therefore we have to demonstrate determination, meaning once we discover a direction that we believe we should go, while keeping an open mind and heart in order to analyze them, we need to go ahead and act, because eventually action is where real learning comes. Well, our parasha this morning, our Torah portion, seems hard to believe, is Parashat Ki Tavo, is chapter 26 of the book of Dvarim, because as we approach the middle of the month of Elul, we also are approaching the end of our Torah. We approach it a little earlier this year, because Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret, all of them this year, because of the timing of the Jewish calendar, fall on Shabbat. And so that means in the fall, which we have almost arrived at, that there are quite a number of Shabbatot where we don't read a parasha at all. And because instead we are focused on the holidays, it lengthens the amount of time we have the privilege of spending here in the later part of the book of Deuteronomy. Of course, each year the calendar of our people has an impact on when we read what. Even though certain parashiot, certain portions are intended to be at certain times during the year, that's all been worked out in the calendar of readings of our people. And yet, people often comment to me, well, how is it that there's such a disjunction between what we're marking and celebrating during the year and what we read in our Torah portion? This morning is a great example because it's everywhere but on the Yamim Noraim, everywhere but on the fall holidays. Because Parashat Ki Tavo in our Torah itself is in fact a description of a ritual that was done on Chag HaBikurim, on Shavuot, on the holiday of the first fruits, when astonishingly our people in ancient times would, when the harvest began to ripen, would bring the first fruits at this time in the land of Israel to the Beit HaMikdash, to the temple in Jerusalem, and would tell a story. And that story not only was the recitation, or vidui bikurim, as it's called, the confession of the first fruits, but at the same time, while it was done on Shavuot, it became the basis for the Pesach Haggadah, for the telling of a story that we tell on Pesach. And so it reminds us that what brings together our holidays, especially what are known as the Shalosh Regalim, the three pilgrimage holidays, are in fact what story we choose to tell at that time. And even by reciting words from our Torah, we still have a choice of what story to tell. Here we find in the beginning of our parasha this week, chapter 26, verse 5, what did the vidui itself, what people were to say when they came to the temple in Yerushalayim. These words, I always hear them in my mind. I don't just see them. Anita ba'amalta lifnei Adonai Elohecha Alami uved avi vayered Mitzrayma vayago sham bimtei ma'ad vayisham lagoy gadol atzum rav ve'orehu otanu hamitzrim vayanunu v'itnu aleinu avodah kasha v'nitzak El Adonai Elohei Avotenu, Vayishma Adonai et kolenu, Vayar et onyenu, V'et amalenu ve'et lachatzenu. These words, our ancestors would not have had or known this particular chant, this trope chant in the ancient days. And yet, as they stood holding a basket of their own first fruits and said they're going to tell their story, I imagine not just them telling, but it pouring out of them and having a musicality and having a power to it that we may recognize these words from their recitation in the Pesach Seder. But how we even tell ourselves the story is what I want to make sure to bring out from our parasha this morning, because the story of standing holding our fruits, what we've done, what we've created, they're holding literally grain, or pomegranates, or figs, or they're saying their story started not with planting or sowing or with their immediate ancestors, but saying Alami Oved Avi, which can mean one of two completely different things when we look at the commentaries, not the translation. One of them we find in the translation here, my father was a fugitive Arami, Aramean, right? Referring to Yaakov, referring to Abraham, and how he wandered from Aram Naharaim down into the land and down into Egypt. That one definition of Jewish identity historically is the awareness of our nature as wanderers and those seeking a home and therefore creating a spiritual home in our world. That's what makes our Yamim Noraim, our fall holidays, so significant, is they are holidays not of the physical land itself, like talked about here in the parasha, but of our creating a spiritual home for ourselves in the world. And saying, by working on who we are, by creating everyday holiness and showing that everyday growth is holy, that we can define ourselves and our goals as Jews and as humans in the world. Then again, it's also understood, these verses, to mean Alami Oved Avi, and Aramean tried to destroy my father. I'm talking about Lavan Harami, Lavan the Aramean, who sought to trick and destroy Yaakov, and sought likewise to avoid the marriage of Rebekah and Isaac, and therefore break what would be the chain of our tradition that runs down until today. So our story could be defined by our searching, or it could be defined by us experiencing difficulty and knowing the heart of the downtrodden. It's a very Jewish thing to answer that it's defined by both, but I also do find that it's worthy of looking within ourselves and saying which one of those two kinds of stories really defines my connection to Judaism. Which one of them really animates me in each of my days and calls on me to act today, to show a sense of gratitude, to respond like the parasha 2 weeks ago with justice for others. I think we need to seek out and understand what is it about our own experience that says to us, here is your Jewish mission in the world. We don't even need to have the same answer for our whole lives or for an entire year, but it is so important that I believe that we find ourselves an answer to animate us, at least for this time ahead, as we make our way into a new year and into that sense that the Yamim Noraim demand of responsibility and care for ourselves and for others. Care for others is very much the theme of our prayer of Refuah, a prayer that we offer for all those in need of healing, especially for those who've shared with the congregation their desire for healing and for prayer at this time. We hold them together in our hearts, together with all those who stand with us and for us on the front lines at this time as we turn to these words of Refuah. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov ve'imotenu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel hu yirapeh et kol makotenu. Yiratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu לחלימם ולרפאותם, ישלח לנו מהרה רפואה שלמה ותרד shalom, ונאמר Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal all who suffer. May it be the divine will to provide healing and strength, reveal to us the holiness of life, the wholeness of shalom, and together let us say Amen. Well, having had a chance to connect and reflect, we're going to take a moment now and remember, recalling the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this time in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. During the period of Shloshim, the past 30 days, we extend our condolences to the families of Edith Grossman, Terry Fern Rossman, Alan Dubras, and Shannon Erin Pizel. And on Yortzeit, on this day, the 11th of Elul, we remember Saul Atlin, Meyer Carr, Ruth Druxerman, Minnie Friedman, Bernard Frutkin, Sam Goldberg, Joseph Kligman, Paul Kligman, Irving Coomer, Rose Lipman, David Eric Ross. Zichronam Levracha. May their memories be a blessing to us. Our griefs and our sympathies are mingled as we turn together towards sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope in the Kaddish Yatom. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabba, ve'alma divra chiruteh ve'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה הלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and bring comfort and strength to all who remember. And together we say, Amen. So now this morning, we continue, it being the month of Elul, by joining together in words that speak of the theme and sense of the season, words that contain the kind of language that is available to us all year in our tradition, but that we especially focus on during this month of Elul and Yamim Noraim, this idea of mercy and of our being willing to accept support and help in our desire to grow. Please feel free to join with me in this part of Ahu. The most merciful desires atonement rather than destruction. God is eager to turn away from anger, not allowing the heat of hostility to awaken. Were the eternal to mark each transgression, only God knows who could yet stand. What would our evil acts say of us? Eternal One, show us your true nature. Remember your endless mercy and boundless kindness. Eternal God, answer us in our times of trouble. Let us find your commanding presence as we call out in prayer. Source of goodness and guidance, be kind to us and answer us. When we have no good deeds upon which to rely, remake us in your righteous image for your purpose. Incline your ear to listen, open your eyes and see our emptiness. We cannot offer our prayers before you relying only on our righteousness. We are dependent on your great mercy. Have compassion for your people. Show mercy to those who honor your heritage. Be kind to us in your great mercy. Gently answer us. For among your daily wonders is your generosity with us. Strengthen us to seek your purpose. Have mercy upon us that we might live by your covenant. Look upon our troubles and answer us. For in your commanding presence, O God, we come to know kindness and mercy. Avinu malkenu chonenu vanenu ke'en banu ma'asim tzedakah esei manu lema'an shemecha. And now, as we continue to hear shofar sounded throughout Toronto and around the world, we experience today's shofar blast, calling forth the sound of the shofar just today, Tekiah. I hope today can be a wonderful day, a day of awakening, a day of being kind to ourselves and sharing that kindness with others. Boker Tov. Make it a great one.